All right, guys, just want to do a quick video today, a recap of the scalper indicator I have here. It's going to give you your buy and sell signals. It's going to tell you where to get in, where to get out based on ATR, how the market's moving. So let's just walk through this and I'll explain a little bit more about the indicator itself, how it works, and as we go through here. So this is opening market today, is October the 8th. You can see first signal out the gate, there was a winning trade there. Now, I don't trade the first 15 minutes, which is why this is grayed out. You can see there's definitely some trades available. And I've got this, and I'll turn it on right now to show you. I've got kind of marked out what the trades were, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But I just want to give you a cleaner chart here to look at. So again, first candle here, this is 1 minute chart, trading the NQ. So it's a scalping strategy. You're in and out of the market very quick, just taking anywhere from 30 to 50 to maybe 60 ticks profit there. So, and you can pick your money management, how much you want to make per trade, how much you want to risk on a loss. All that's done up here. It's kind of hard to see with the chart in the way, but this little thing in the corner here is that, and I'll show you that in just a minute. It kind of tells us where to put our stop loss and how many contracts we want to trade so we can hit that money management value, okay? Anyway, first trade there. Again, I don't trade these, so I avoid them just because it's based off ATR. So if this was saying this market here is 20, it's basically the last 10 candles here is that value. Well, we know the first 15 minutes, these things can be 60, 80, 100 tick moves. So it's really hard to gauge how to take your profits on here. Now you can just say, hey, give me 40 ticks and I'll be fine. But then what's your stop loss, right? You need to know that. So it's hard to really judge how whipsaw this can happen. But anyway, first trade did go through. We're good there. Okay, second trade came. Now this is a triangle. That is our sell. This is our stop loss. This blue line is our entry. And this down here is our target. So this is Heikin-Ashi candles, a little bit different than your normal Japanese candlestick. But this is where the price was at when the market closed on that candle, and then it obviously just came down and hit our target there, okay? So that one was a win. First one was a win as well. So, if you traded this third one would be a loss, and here's why, right? Price stopped here. This little blue line is your entry. Price came up, not very far, and then just came back down. And right there, hidden there, you can't see it because it's behind the candle, which if there was no candles ahead of it, you'd be able to see it just fine. But anyway, so you would have a loss there. Next trade here, entry here, blue line, there's your stop. Price came down just a couple minutes later, okay? So what is that? 1, 2, 3 out of one loss, 3 wins. So that's still a good 15-minute range there to go into, but I usually come in right about here. Now there's times I'll take this trade if I feel the market's kind of settled, but just wait usually for this first one to happen. And usually it happens right about this time. Within about 40 to 45 on the time, it'll take a trade. So anyway, here's our first real trade of the day. Stop loss was here, entry price here. Price came up, minute and a half later, took our profits there. So profit-wise, now that we're in the true ATR, that's 36, maybe 38, close to 40 ticks is where your profit was at. Same with your loss. And you can specify that up in this area here. You can do, if you want a little bit larger target, you can do that. But with being in and out of the market so quick, you want to make sure you can hit this and move on to the next one, okay? So that's, a win on that one. Next one here, this one came through. There's our entry. Got just a couple more minutes. The market moved up and hit our take profit. Now, again, this is a huge move, right? I mean, what's a good of 36 to 50 ticks when it went 300? Well, this is just a scalping strategy. If you're looking for something that more of a swing strategy or longer term, you can definitely find that. I'm just here to show you guys the scalping one, okay? Another one came a few minutes later. Entry here, candle pushed up to hit our target, okay? Stop loss was here and price never came. Now, Heikin-Ashis, they open up a little bit different. They'll open up in the middle of the previous candle. So this is where price was at, and then it just went up. So sometimes it's a little confusing if you're not used to these ones, okay? This would be our first loss of the morning. And as you can see, this one came up here, did not reach our target, and then came back and hit us out there. Now, this is kind of one that maybe you never want to hold off on these because you just never know. But this big push, we had a small retracement, another push up, a little bit of retracement, but not much. It was bound to happen, right? And that's kind of what I put in my notes here, as I'll show you that, is, excess signal, which came, this is built into the software. It just overbought, oversold on a market flow index. So that was there. There wasn't a push, so it was bound to happen eventually. That's what I put. So, but it's still a loss there, okay? So let me just hide these again, okay? And this is another thing to catch here, okay? Is you get these, sometimes you get a back and forth one where you get into the market, it just comes right above there and then whipsaws down, switches you into a sell position. So you can take a loss on this one. Sometimes it's, half the amount that you would have had on a loss. Sometimes it'll just whipsaw you out really quick and take you out on this one. So you can see here, but it did close down. So we lost on this trade, but the sell down, a couple more minutes we had made money. So easy way to make back your money. And again, we're risking the same amount. Okay, here's our stop loss, here's our take profit. Now the market's really slow right now. It's about to close. About 45 or 50 minutes from now it'll close. And so normally this would be 30 or 40 or 50. So if we look at the difference here from our entry roughly to our target, 35. So and now it's saying there's only 17 ticks in there. So you can see the market's definitely slowed down. Okay, so anyway, a loss there, but a win there. So you can easily make back your profit right away. I mean, can you have 2 or 3 loses in a row? Yeah, you can, but you can also have 5 or 6 or 8 wins in a row. So playing money management is definitely key to how to keep your account going. Okay, this is a very important signal right here. We did not take this trade, and this is why. See where price was? This is where it closed. Price never went above. So you've got to watch this on your chart, and if sometimes it'll open and put a tiny wick, but it really never gets there. So you can hold off. Now you can play these orders and just, hey, if it's a buy, I'm going to buy, and if it's a sell, I'm going to sell. I don't really care what this does. You'll have more losses, obviously. You'll still hit probably close to 70% taking every single trade. If you are cautious and watch for this and don't get into it, you'll probably hit closer to 80%, because there will be 3 or 4 of these a day, maybe even 5 a day, depending on how the market's moving, that you won't trade. So this is not a trade. Price did not come up; it just stayed there. Okay, so that's a no trade. Here is basically the same setup, but look, the wick went up. So this one you would have got into most likely, and then obviously it came and switched over. So this one did not come all the way down to our stop loss before it hit there. So this is one where you may have to eat some profits or take a small loss. Instead of taking 35 ticks, it may be 20. Okay, but again, next candle later, price gives us our signal, and goes down there. So, and obviously you've got this is a higher, and then it goes to a higher low here. So you can kind of tell the market's trending down. If it would have gone up, we'd have been okay, but it's kind of trending down. Not much movement after those big moves. So you just kind of have to learn to trade that yourself. Take every signal you want, but you do have to have some kind of mental capacity of, do I really want to get in this trade? What's it done in the past? Things like that, okay? Another one here is a win. Now again, exit. This is overbought, oversold, okay? So if this happens on this exact candle, there might be a retrace. As you can see here, this one exited. We had a small retrace, but then it just came back down. Still has some good selling pressure. Okay, so win there. Okay, so here's another one we did not take, because you can see where price, this is your entry, price never got there and just came back up. Okay, so no trade there. This was a win, went up, hit our target. We're good to go there, okay? And even if it didn't hit on that one, you would have hit on this, 3 or 4 candles later, okay? So here's one here. You were in a profit here, came down, there's your stop. You would have stopped out right on that candle there, okay? But again, this is, a little later in the day. The market's kind of stalled out, so just got to be a little more cautious with that, okay? Another situation here, you got up in some profits. Now this one's a tricky one because you're not stopped out. Market's trending up. You get this sell, but price never went below it. So this is kind of you've got to make that decision. Hey, do I want to reverse my position? Do I want to hold off? How's the market? Is it trending up? Sometimes you can switch them out and it pays off, and sometimes you switch it out and it goes up like this, and you would have gotten to a sell and lost when it would have been positive. So there are, chinks in the armor, you can say, of any strategy, but this one just is, I'm walking you through what can happen on a situation like this, right? You're in it, 2 candles later, it gives a sell, but it's really not trending down, and then obviously it goes up and hits your target, but you could have switched that and taken a loss. So just things you got to watch for. All right, keep going through here, and then I'm going to show you guys the indicator itself. Okay, there's a win. This one looks like there's your entry there. Now this did kind of come down there, but again, maybe you're watching it, maybe you didn't take it. It could have been a loss, okay? All right, more and more signals here that come through. Now this is when it gets to noon Eastern, it turns gray. I don't take anything in this area, and let me show you why. It just gets so choppy at this time of day. And you'll see here, those were 2 losses in a row. No trade there, a win there, no trades, win there, loss, win, loss. You can just see it's just really choppy. There's just a lot of signals that happen, and you're just going to lose your profits there. You can start trading this time of day. The market starts to trend more. When you get up this way, there's a no trade there. This one was a no. Then we'll probably know. I think it's a no trade too, because it just came up. And it looks like, let me just show you this with the Heikin Ashi. If you don't know Heikin Ashi, this will open up in the middle of this candle here. So it'll put it there. So my guess is, I didn't watch it obviously, but it never got in there. So that would most likely have been a no trade for you. Okay, same with this one. Now, you can wait. I wouldn't wait more than a minute or 2 at most. If it hasn't gone on this candle, maybe this one here, the start of it, don't take the trade. Just wait. Obviously, we missed the run there, but this one, with it coming down this low, and again, we're playing with really tight positions right here because that market was so slow, okay? Okay, so you've seen it. You've seen all the triangles here when we actually really will trade the market, none of this gray stuff. And you can see pretty good accuracy. We did have a few losses throughout the day. When it was squiggly face there saying, you know, it did hit the profit, but maybe you would have stopped out on that one. But most of these are smiley faces. This one had a 24 tick loss. And I marked it there. That one was just a loss, but then a win on the next one down. All right, you get the point. Win, win, win. And then obviously some of these, depending if you want to trade those. So, all right, let me just quickly walk you guys through the settings here. So, you know, this is our money management. This is what I'm talking about. So let's put $400 here. Okay, now watch this number over here. It's going to change this contracts from 15. Should update any second now. Push it, okay. To 40. Okay, so now obviously that's because it's only 20 ticks. But if you want to have a 400 go, you know, as your profit or your loss, that's how you can change it. But you can also change it, you know, to $75. So that's what you want to risk, $75. Okay, give it just a second. This will come down. Now this changes every time the market's changing. So if it's a huge run, 60, 80 ticks, this will tell you to only trade 5 or 3 contracts. Okay, so when you're putting your money in over here, you can see here I've got it set for 15 contracts, 15 ticks, you know, 22 stop loss. Gives me a reward of 112, but a loss of 165. So if I change this to 7, and we pick this number here, 19, just as it's showing us that that's what we should do, you know, it's going to say it's $66. Well, we said 77, so it's kind of the minimum. Obviously, it's can only calculate so much with every little tick. So, you know, in that case, you would come in here and go 8 or maybe 9. So there's 8, gives you 76. So with, you know, fees and stuff like that, you maybe put it up to 9. But that's kind of a bare minimum you want to look at going, okay? All right, hopefully that makes sense. Let me just jump in here and show you a few more settings, and then we'll finish the video. You can put a 200 EMA if you want. It helps if you only want to see buys above 200 or sells below 200. It doesn't make a huge difference. I feel you miss out on quite a few trades. You may get a couple points better, but to me, it's like it's still hitting roughly 70 to 80% on a day. Yeah, you'll have days where the market just ranges all day, and you'll have maybe 60% win. But most days is a winning day for me. I don't have losing days of trading this system, so you know it can happen, yes, but most likely if you take the signals and you're accurate with your entries and exits, you should be good. Okay, this is your ATR that we talked about. I set it at 7 on NQ or MNQ, just because that's a good range to be at, and that's these lines here. These will move as we adjust those. Okay, you can pick fixed tick and stop loss if you'd rather just, hey, I want 40 each way on the stop, on the profit. It doesn't matter. I don't use it, but it's in there. All right, this you can move. You can take this box off. It'll delete the box here. You can move this to be in the bottom corner down here if you want, if you don't want it in the top. All right, flat market filter. This is really important because when the market slows down, let me just put in here 30. Okay, and so now watch what happens with this box. Takes just a second to load it up. There we go. Okay, now it says slow market conditions, and that's because it's under 30. Now I have it set at 12. Anything over 12 ticks, this will stay blue and give us our contracts to use. Well, this one's saying, hey, the market's too slow. Signals disabled. So you will not see signals right now. So later in the afternoon, you know, when the market opens up, it may switch to this. You won't see it, but now market's good. We're at 18. If it gets below 12, it'll switch over. So if you'd like to see every signal throughout the day, you'll have a lot of ones that maybe won't trade because the market's not moving well. You can put it to 1 to have every signal show up, okay? All right, there's trending hours. You can pick when you want to see the signals. You can change your colors, things like that. There is this offset that you can, the blue line, right now you can see it's maybe just a little bit above that. It's 2 ticks above the dot. That's the close price. And I just did that to give me a little bit of room just so I can be protective of not jumping in too quick if that puts that little wick in there. So you can put it for 5. I wouldn't go any more than that though. All right, so let's go here and then we'll finish up the video here for you. You can change your colors, your dots, real price dots, you want to see those. No trading candles, you can change the hours. I have those first 15 minutes that we don't want to take a trade. So I know that these candles right here, even though they're positive, there have been some good trades, it's hard to really judge where you want to put your take profit and stop loss because you just don't know. There's not enough data in the average true range because the market was so slow prior to open, okay? And then I have it turned back on at 3 p.m. Eastern, the last hour, just to get some better signals because usually the market's moving pretty good. Show your pivot lines. You want to have that. That helps you hit your targets. We have support and resistance built in here as well. That's great to have. And then your exit signals you can have here. This is, like I said, it's overbought, oversold. When it gives it that, saying, hey, the market was overbought here. Look at maybe getting out or oversold, okay? More time stuff there, and then your disclaimer, okay? So anyway, you guys can see it was definitely a profitable day. Only a few losers. that happen throughout the day, and a couple ones like this that maybe, depending on what you did, you may have lost a little bit more money. But for the most part, until we get to this, noon time, which I don't trade these, that's when it can get flat, and that's why we avoid them. Come back into the market here, and there we go. Market did come up, and we just hit our target there, okay? Hit this one here, but like I said, depending on where you got in, you might have missed that. So one thing to note, when this is in a signal, if it was giving it now, there would be a dot here instead of a triangle. It's basically telling you, hey, get ready for a trade. Doesn't mean it's going to put a signal out, but it's getting in position, okay? So you just know, okay, ooh, looks like it might be a buy, or it might be a sell. I need to be ready. So you can come over here and switch it. If this turned into a pink circle instead of a triangle, and it will go away. If it's a solid signal, this will leave and this will plot this stuff. If the circle goes away and it doesn't produce anything, that means you don't take the trade, obviously. So it's kind of just preps you for a possible trade to come up. It is something you have to look at your hands. You can come in here and put in an alert. If you want to set your alert, this one right here, add alert. This one's a buy, so I just push create. Do that one more time. Change it to be a sell and create. And now I've got 2 alerts here. Okay, so the next time it gives me a signal, it'll pop up. It comes to my phone, tells me when to get in. Now, this is scalping. You got to be quick. You got to get in that thing quick. So you can't be like, oh, let me go look at the market now, and it takes you 5 minutes to get in. The trade will be over by then, right? Because these are 1 to 2 minutes on the scalps. So again, guys, it's a profitable system. You can see if you follow the rules. Basically, with any trading system, you follow the rules to a T. Use proper money management to know when to get in and out of a trade, how much you're willing to lose, every time you take a trade, how much you want to make. And you should see profits if you're disciplined in your trading and don't get, let the emotions come into it. This takes out the emotions by using something like this for you guys to know, hey, I took a loss, no big deal, right? Because I know within the next minute or two, I'm going to make it back up, right? I took a loss here off this one. Okay, no big deal. Made some money here. Or maybe not. Maybe it was flat, right? Didn't take that trade, then I had a winning trade. No trade, winning trade. So you can easily make your money back. You might have 2 or 3 losses in a row, but you'll have 5 or 6, wins in a row too that can make you some money. So to have that. So anyway, guys, hopefully you can see it's a great profitable system. Take a look. Hopefully you like it, and it's something you guys want to get into. Thanks.